More on our top story, and that's that highly critical report into the immigration detention network here in Australia. The opposition leader in the Senate, Eric Abetz, says there's been a culture of denial within the Immigration Department.
What I think is happening is that the two ministers and the department are living in denial that the problem arose when the government changed its policy. They then didn't want to admit that there was overcrowding, and keep in mind that this Comcare report tells us that Christmas Island was 250% above occupational capacity and 25% above surge capacity. So overcrowded. Why was it overcrowded? Because border protection policy of the government had failed, and they were not willing to admit their failure. As a result, they were not willing to address all the issues that Comcare has now laid open for all to see. This is a triple whammy that Comcare have found. They have found that departmental officials were at risk, contractors were at risk, and the detainees were at risk. So everybody was at risk because of this culture of denial by the government.
Senator Abetz there. For more, Sandi Logan is the Communications Manager for the Immigration Department. He joins us now by phone. Sandi Logan, good morning. I'm glad you could join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia.
Are you living in denial?
No, I think we accept that we do operate in a very much a risk environment, a risky environment where we do address and do make sure that the challenges that our staff, our contractors and our clients face are matters that we look out for very carefully, particularly around their health and safety. But can I just make the point that from the department's perspective, clearly I'm not going to be here to argue the case around policy. That is a matter for politicians. The Department of Immigration and Citizenship has been highly responsive to successive governments, whether it's around detention, immigration detention, whether it's around policy to do with citizenship or any number of the issues that we address in the portfolio.
Okay. Well, I mean, I won't take up your time with that because indeed, as you say, it is the government's area, really not the department. But nonetheless, as a department spokesman, you've got some serious questions to answer here. This report paints a systemic issue of undertraining of staff, lack of preparation to deal with the constant threat of violence, the ones that leapt out at me of the 5 key points, and they're all very serious. Staff are not trained to the point where they're confident or even competent in their jobs. How could you allow that situation to flourish?
Well, we contend that, in fact, there are errors of fact in the report. We addressed a number of these...
That's a pretty big errors of fact. You're saying that is wrong. That's absolutely wrong.
Well, we addressed a number of these concerns, Virginia, at the draft stage, and we had expected that Comcare would reflect those discussions.
Comcare clearly didn't believe you.
And those concerns that we had at the time. Well, having said that, I mean, we know that we've been awarded on many occasions for the work that we do in training, the work that we do in workplace health and safety, the work that we do in rehabilitation of our staff for work under the Comcare scheme. Look, we're not perfect. Yes, there is probably room for improvement. Yes, we're an organization that has had to respond at very short notice, working in a high tempo to the challenges that immigration detention presents. But I think when it comes to issues around training, to issues around risk management, to issues around our OH&S environment, there could be room for improvement, but we don't accept that the staff whom we employ, and for that matter, the staff through our detention services provider, Serco, do not have appropriate training.
Well, I mean, words are all very well, but maybe actions actually speak louder, and that's what Australians, I guess, are going to be relying on when they take this report seriously, as they should. And that is where we've seen what's happened from time to time at Christmas Island. We've seen protests get out of control. We've seen riots where people have been injured and the like. That would seem to actually be strong evidence bearing out this assertion that there's no effective written plan to deal with critical incidents like riots and suicide attempts. Why would you have no written plan?
Well, again, we don't necessarily accept that that is the case. We do have plans that deal with the situations which we have seen arise, whether it's non-compliant behaviour of a minor nature or whether it's the very serious and very tragic consequences.
Sandi Logan, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to jump in there just because time is tight, but just to sort of emphasise this. I mean, Comcare is saying this is the case. Are you saying that Comcare is just making it up?
No, we're not. What we are saying, though, is there are probably levels, there are nuances here that have not been addressed by ComCare at the draft report stage when we had the opportunity and they had the opportunity to address those concerns that we now see in the final report. But having said that, Virginia, we do accept that ComCare has had findings against us. They have got issues with a number of areas of our operation around OH&S, around risk management, around training. We have agreed with ComCare that we will address those concerns and meet their August 22 deadline to respond to them. But we nonetheless don't believe that it is entirely an accurate report around some of their findings. We will work with them, though, because we are a highly responsive organization to this sort of feedback. We have to be.
All right, look, we'll have to leave it there because our time is tight this morning, Sandi Logan, but I'm glad you could join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia.